Kereisos Daf Chav Zayin. A person sets aside 2 selah, which are 8 zuz, to buy a korban asham. And then he goes ahead and he uses those 8 zuz for his own consumption. That's mi'ilah, and he has to pay the original plus 25%, 2 zuz. He repeats this 4 times in a row, and now he has 8 zuz set aside for his chaymish, for his 25%. Ask the Gemara, can he use those 8 zuz, which is the minimum that the Torah says that an asham costs, 2 selah, can he buy an asham with it? The question is, perhaps when you use shvach hegdish, improvement of hegdish, it's because you created the shvach, you gave the animal food, it became more valuable. But if it happened by itself, like in this case, perhaps you can't use it, or maybe not. Maybe since you set it aside for the asham, you could use it. Now when it comes to shvach hegdish, the improvement of hegdish, if a person, for instance, bought an animal for 1 selah, and today it's worth 2 selah, says the Gemara, if you went to an animal dealer and the guy gave you a great deal, instead of charging you 2 selah, he charged you 1 selah, that's 100% kosher, that's what the Torah says. You need to buy something for 2 selah, you got a good deal, that's okay. If you bought it for 1 selah and you yourself improved it by feeding it, and now today it's worth 2, that's also good. The Gemara brings a brisa that even if the improvement happened on its own, it's also good. However, if you bought an animal for 2 and it went down in price to 1, then it's no good. Rabbi Eliezer had the suffix, could you use shvach hegdish? And Rabbi Yochanan couldn't believe it. He says, hasn't Rabbi Eliezer learned by us for years? What did Rabbi Yochanan say? Rabbi Yochanan said that if a person has a taida, and the taida gave birth, now giving birth is considered an improvement, the shvach. You're allowed to use the offspring as a taida and you bring breads with it. The only time you don't bring breads with the offspring is if you already got a kapara through the mother. There are other halachas that Rabbi Yochanan couldn't believe that they asked him. Rabbi Eliezer asked, what happens if the price of the animals in the world went down, the whole market went down, and you cannot buy an animal that costs 2 selah. Everything's below 2 selah. Can you bring an animal or not? Can you bring an asham? And he says, of course you can't, because Reb Shimon Bar Yochai says the reason why there's no price limit for a mechuper oven, chisar kapara, meaning somebody who needs to bring a behema, a korban, in order to eat kachim, there's no price, because what if the price goes down? This person will never be able to eat kachim. So you see that it's important to do exactly what the Torah says, to pay the price, and not, the reason is not that mifchanederechem, they should bring something valuable, even if it's less than 2. You need at least 2 selah. Another question they asked him is whether or not a balchai, an animal, is nitcha, once you push it off from the mizbeach, it can never go back. There's a halacha also of dachim ikara, that perhaps the animal has to have at least a moment where it could be available for the mizbeach, and then it was pushed off. Over here you see you don't need that moment in a case where a person was a partner in an animal, and he donated his half to hegdish. So that is, with the balchai, that is dachim ikar, because his partner owned it for the entire period, so he never had a chance. And also you see dachim b'damim, dichu b'damim, that he only was magdish the value, the monetary part of it, but not its guf. And you do tmura kayotzeba, meaning somebody could say, just like this animal of the partner is kadosh, so too my animal should be kadosh. That's also midaraisa, but it works. The tmura works, and the tmura kayotzeba has the same halachas. The Gemara says that Reb Chia bar Abba used to repeat all his learning that he learned from Rabbi Yochanan with Rabbi Yochanan every 30 days. Says the Mishnah. By Echatas it says the word karbanai 3 times. What do we learn from that? We learn from that if a father designated a korban for himself and then he died, the son cannot use that korban for his own personal chait. Now, obviously you can't use it for the father's chait because there's no kapara after a person dies, but even for your own chait, you cannot use it. Not only can't you use it from a different type of aver, from a chomer, something that has misa, let's say, to a kal, and not from a kal to a chomer, but you learn from another karbanai that even if it's the same type of avera, you can't use it. And even if the father set aside money, you can't use the money to buy a korban, where in a case of a nazir, for instance, you could use the father's money, even if the father didn't designate exactly, you don't know if it was a chatos or a naila. It says al chatosai twice, that even within the same avera, if you designated for a piece of chalev that you ate on Sunday, you cannot use it for a piece of chalev that you ate on Monday. And the second one is that if you designated the money for a different avera, you can't use it, can't use the money, even though if you did a b'shaygeg, you used it, it goes out and it's mi'ilah, but you're not allowed to use it l'chatchila. It says the Mishnah, that it says by carbon oil yored, the carbon that's on a scale. Now, if you're wealthy, you bring a carbon. If you're not so wealthy, you bring a bird, and very poor, you bring flour. So it says over there, the word mechatos, like to teach you that even if you designated money for a sheep and then you became poor, you're allowed to take the money that you designated and buy a bird, and the rest of the money goes out lechulin. And certainly, you're allowed to buy with the money that you designated for a sheep, you're allowed to buy a goat, and vice versa. The other mechatosi comes to tell us, it says mechatosi by a bird, that if a person he's designated a bird, and then he became poor, he's allowed to buy with the money asira saifa, the flour, and the rest of the money goes lechulin. By asira saifa it says al chatasi, to teach us that if he became wealthy, he just adds money to the original asira saifa, and he could buy a bird or a behema. If he designated an animal and then he became poor, if the animal has a mum, then you're allowed to sell it and buy a bird with it. But if you bought a bird and it has a mum, you cannot sell it and buy a sir saifa because a bird doesn't have a pidyon. Have a wonderful day.